Coming up in today's video, I use some gadget trickery to try and outsmart the crafty fox down at the bowls club. Plus, I'm out with the keepers and we have a cracking time on the foxes. This is... Well, hey guys, welcome to today's video. I'm actually out filming at the squirrel hide today and I've just had my first one. But in today's video, we're on the foxes. I'll also pick out the winner of the Artemis T18 torch that I put up for grabs a couple of weeks back. You can see this squirrel shooting video over the next week or two, hopefully, if this pans out okay today. But I also want to start today's video by saying that I'm quite sad about something. No, it's not about losing my job and having no money coming in. It's actually about Nightsight.
350 to 400 yards away, in low light around dusk.
That there was a slightly fuller-faced Ian Harford from Team Wild back in 2012, and it was pretty much back then and actually watching this video that Nightsight first caught my attention. Nightsight was born in 2011, formed from two brothers, one an electrical engineer, the other a keen shooter, who wanted that something a little extra other than lamping for his nighttime antics. They created the Nightsight company, the press got a hold of it, and things went from strength to strength fairly early on.
For night vision, it's got to be the Nightsight NS200 unit. As you guys have no doubt seen, it's worked wonders so far this year for Team Wild and makes hunting at night so much easier. We've taken plenty of foxes and rabbits with the NS200, as well as peering at a deer earlier on this year. It's easy to set up, and with its brilliantly clear sight picture, this piece of kit is a must-have for anyone out hunting at night.
In 2013, the innovative products kept on coming with the introduction of the Nightsight Spotter Extreme. Along with the success in the UK, these products helped to propel Nightsight's production in the UK to a turnover of over £800,000. With more staff on board, they were able to take the Nightsight brand globally. They would eventually end up selling in over 30 countries and having a presence on every continent. By 2016, I've already been using my NS200 unit to great success, so when they launched the Arctic series in 2016 with features which we now come to expect as standard on modern scopes, it really got my juices going.
Press the little record button at the back, and everything that you see on the screen of your Nightsight will be recorded straight to memory.
Later, also in 2016, Nightsight were awarded the coveted Queen's Award for Innovation and International Trade. Also in 2016, a very handsome small bald fella, that guy, introduced Team Foxer to the world of YouTube, and a couple of early videos took the market by storm. One of my very first decent, I would say, ratting videos has to date amassed over 3.5 million views. All of that thanks to Nightsight. But it didn't stop there. At the SHOT Show in 2018, Nightsight unveiled the Dark Ops unit, and this was, in my opinion, probably the start of the end. Not only were these units not quite as good as the previous models, the pictures were a little grainy, there were other players on the market really raising their game. ATN launches the 4K scope over in the US. It took a little time to reach these shores, and another company, Pard, now synonymous with many YouTubers bringing great quality footage, and this really was the nail in the coffin. High quality HD footage in either day or night time was what YouTubers like myself and you the viewers really wanted. Now, Nightsight did try and combat this in 2018. It wasn't massively well publicised, but they launched or tried to launch a product called the Nightsight Duo, using their tried and tested nighttime technology with a daytime scope. The unit, unfortunately, was a bit of a flop. They had invested heavily in it and therefore were left with loads and loads of stock they had to try and sell off cheap. And then we get to the news that in 2020, towards the end of the year, Nightsight finally put in for liquidation, voluntary insolvency, as it's known here in the UK. So there you go. That was my little nod, and a massive thank you to the company Nightsight for bringing us your technology. On to the foxing action then. As you can see, I'm still using the Nightsight. I quite like that system for this type of shooting because I don't have to get down and look through a dedicated scope. I probably will change it at some point in the not too distant future, but currently without a job that might prove a little difficult. Here we are out just checking on the partridge pens nice and early on the evening before we go on our rounds, looking for signs of any fox damage, trying to get into the partridges. Whoa! Yeah, I didn't see that one there, so first I had to go and change my pants. When we came back, we cracked on with the foxing. As you can see here, this fox is quite some distance out into the field. I'll use my best fox call mouth caller to try and catch its attention to bring it in that little bit closer. As is often the case, foxes will often take the path of least resistance. So this fox here is actually walking up the wheeling of one of the tractor tyres there, and I have to keep calling and change the pitch and slight intensity, if you like, of the call to keep it interested because it got a little distracted there. I was quite lucky with that one there because it just started to move off just as I pulled the trigger. Anyway, that's the first fox down, so a good start. Second one was really very quick indeed. We actually were up on the bank here looking down on this fox as it's chowing down on something. Nice easy one, that one. It's a rat. Oh, what's left of it, look. That's what it was chowing on. That's a tiny little fox, isn't it? Little vixen. Young'un. So it's still fairly early doors, but things are going quite well. Fox number 3 is spotted at some distance using the thermal, and as the wind picks up, it can sometimes prove a little difficult, but at the same time can work in your favour if you get the wind in your face. This fox here I've actually illuminated and ID'd with the extra illuminator on my Nightsight system, as the Nightsight range, as you can see here, is only good out to about 200 yards. The extra PBIRL laser that I use from Paul Baker is a fantastic infrared illuminator. Now, one of the other things that this little clip here will do is show you that you need to probably read the body language of the fox. This one here was making his way up a dike. I changed the call there from the mouth call over to a lip squeak, and as it tilts its head, that's the indication that it's actually piquing its interest. And sure enough, it comes in nicely. I put the extra illuminator on when it gets into range to illuminate the sight picture much better for both clearer identification and to take the shot. Now, what I said about reading the body language here, this fox actually dips off into the dike, so I was going to take the shot there, but I kept with it and kept tracking it with the thermal as well as the Nightsight, and luckily a few minutes later it reappears as I kept lip squeaking. So it comes basically as far as the fox wants to come. Sometimes this will happen. They will just sit there and look at you because they're not convinced of exactly what it is they're coming into. So like I did there, it will just sat there nice and pretty for me to be able to stick one straight in the bib. Nothing else called in for the rest of that evening other than this fantastic looking barn owl captured here on my thermal. We have had several foxes though over the last few weeks and months, so here's a couple of extra snippets before we get back into some more detailed foxing action. out a few weeks later with the keeper on fox duty, and as you can see here, I'm just flicking the additional IR on and off to begin with to just ID them and absolutely be certain that we are looking at two foxes and not somebody's dogs that they're out walking. Not that they should be walking down here, incidentally, because it's really in the middle of nowhere. But these foxes are just a stone's throw away from the end of the pheasant drive. As you can see here, I'm lip squeaking to catch the attention. Initially, both foxes come in an absolute treat, but just like the fox a little earlier, that one fox there on the right-hand side, he stays back. He pretty much isn't sure of what he's coming into, so that's as far as that fox wants to come. So he's sat out there now around 200 yards and isn't convinced of what he's coming into, so he's decided he's going to stay there. The vixen is either slightly less experienced or she's clearly just a bit hungrier than the male and wants to come and have a closer look. So I slightly dull down the lip squeak now that she's come that little bit closer to keep her attention interested and kind of make it sound like whatever she's coming into is dying. So she wants to get there nice and quick, and that's how I entice the foxes in once they started to come that little bit closer. All I need to do now is pick the perfect moment. I thought that was probably it, but clearly she's still on the move. So in a second, I don't want her to get too close, so in a second I'm going to stop her and then take her from there. And hopefully the dog fox still sticks around. That'll do nicely. She presented myself with a lovely bib shot, so I quickly reload and scan around for the dog fox, and to my surprise he's still in the field. So I focus in just to make sure I get a good sight picture and take the shot, and he goes down. Well, he actually ran about 10 yards back, but I'm looking in the thermal and he's down. He's down. Yep, they're both down. Robin! Oh, little Robin! Keeper obviously very pleased with my efforts there. Oh, that's the first one. Dropped on the spot with a nice bib shot. Vixen. Go and get the other one. That's a lot further back. Well, that was good timing because there's a big mist just set in. But this is the fox that didn't want to come in. This one stayed further back. This is an adult. That's got to be mum. Look at the size of it. Beautiful looking fox. Not bad shot placement either. Oh, it's dad. So there you go, it's big dad. And then a young vixen there. Might have even been a pair then. Great result. It was a good result. Unfortunately, we couldn't see anything else for the rest of that evening through the MV. We could still see with the thermal here as we walked past a nice group of roe deer going about their business. It never fails to amaze me the plethora of wildlife you get to see when you're out and about. Now here's a good example of the fox that's caught our wind. The wind's pushing our scent towards it. There's no way this fox is coming in any closer. It's a good couple of 100 yards away, so I have a bit of a stab in the dark at this one and unfortunately just misjudge it and shoot over the top of it. That one lives to fight another day. It was way out. Now, moving on, a few of you may remember that a couple of years ago I filmed quite a decent video at a town central location. So this is what we call urban fox control. We had a problem fox digging up a bowling green and making a real mess of it. I rocked up there with a 17 HMR and took out, I think it was 3 foxes that we'd cleared from there. I'll put a link to that video down below. Well, I had a call from them recently, so we went and installed the trail cameras into the same location because they started to dig up and make some damage onto the green, and these guys put a lot of time and effort into keeping this grass nice and neat. The difference with this time round is I'm going to actually shoot from a different location. I'm actually going to lay prone on that flat roof just up there. The reason for that is twofold really. One is safer backstop, but my learnings from being here the first time is that the fox tends to come in from this direction, and I was spotted because I was eye level with the fox last time. Here I am checking the trail cameras to see what time I can expect to find our Charlie. This kind of investigation work prior to shooting should cut down the amount of time spent. So here you can see that the fox poses nicely for the camera here at, I think it was about, yeah, there we go, 20 past 1 in the morning. So that's what time I can usually expect the fox. Now, before I go, and in the interest of keeping the footage as best as possible, I want to change the scope over. So I've taken off the MTC Viper and put on the ATN scope, although I've had to use the reach back mounts because this bulky section here in the middle of the scope means that I can't get my standard mounts on it. So here I go and put the box down, which is exactly 48 yards. Now that's the exact same distance from where I'm going to be shooting to the bait location. Alright, so that first round actually hit up here. So it's probably gone, I don't know, probably gone 4 or 5 inches high. So I'll adjust the dot up to the top of the thing and see how that fares up. There we go. Yeah, so we've just gone a tiny bit right there. And I do mean only a tiny bit. So I'll adjust the crosshairs to that point, and we're pretty much there in just 3 shots. So stop recording. Right. So I adjusted the reticle. It's a little windy, it's not brilliant for a 17 HMR, but it is only 48 yards. So I've adjusted the reticle accordingly, and I've just put 3 shots now. In that distance there at 48 yards. Let's go down and see how tight that is. If it's thumbnail away from the bullseye at a fox's head at that distance, that's going to be more than enough for tonight. So, let's go and see. Well, the bait gets put in position. I just hope we don't see too many of the local cats. These things are a bit of a menace and they keep eating all of the bait. I get myself in position just after 8 PM. I understand that I'm in for a long wait, but if it does turn up early, I'll certainly be ready. I actually used the Artemis T18 infrared illuminator for this particular excursion, the very same torch I shall be giving away at the end of this video. It's now approaching 1 AM. Scanning around with the thermal binoculars, we've got ourselves a visitor. Unfortunately for me, looking at the camcorder, I could clearly see it was a cat. I just want to show you guys what the quality of the ATN footage looks like as well at 50 yards here. Clearly I'm holding above it here, although the rifle safety is on. Just as a matter of precaution, I'm just making sure that I don't accidentally shoot somebody's moggy. Well, it gets to 2 AM in the morning and I'm stiff as a board. I'd had to have a couple of tactical wheeze as well while I was up on that roof, which proved rather difficult. Luckily there were no neighbours watching, so I went just to fill the bait section up and admire some more wildlife and went on my way. I think this just goes to prove that no matter how much preparation you put in, you can't always get your fox. I will keep you guys posted on how this job goes though, so we might be back here in the not too distant future. Back out on cover watch now, and I've actually got several foxes here spotted in my sights. Could be another double, well it could be, but there's actually 3. Clearly though there were houses in the background, so we had to go the long way round to get to the other side of this cover and start calling from the other end. This here is a potato field just before harvesting, and once again we've got 2 of the 3 here coming in nicely. Yet again, one of the foxes is well committed while the other one stays far back, but I'm also having to contend with something else here, as you can see. I'm out of the truck window and I've got foliage at the field edge in my line of sight, so I have to wait until it gets into a nice clear spot once again before I stick one straight in the bib. once again, similar to the first double we saw earlier on, it's quite strange that the second fox actually hung around after the shot. More surprisingly, it came in almost the exact same manner as the first fox did, using the same lines to the call, which really doesn't happen very often at all. Clearly I can't take it out in the field and towards the back of the lorry yard, which is at the edge of the housing estate there. I need it to come left, but like I said, it takes the almost exact same line as the first fox. So I also know I'm going to have to deal with this foliage again, so what you'll probably see me here is look a little bit further in front of the fox to make sure that it gets stopped in an area that's nice and clear. And judging by the way this looked, it had almost stopped on top of the other fox.
Hey! 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 That'll be both of them then.
Wouldn't have been much further than this, I wouldn't have thought. Ah, they're over there. I said they'd be pretty close together, didn't I? Yeah. I didn't think they would be far apart, and they're not. 10 yards, if that. That's a little vixen. Beautiful looking fox, absolutely stunning. And then, yeah, I'm afraid I can't show you any more of that one sunny side up, because both YouTube's algorithm and the snowflakes would have an absolute field day. But I think you'll agree that's one cracking pair of foxes. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's the competition announcement time. A few weeks ago, I put up this T18 Artemis torch, asking you in this episode how many geese did we shoot. This was an epic session. I'll put a link to this video in the description. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's a great video. Anyway, the winner of that torch is Humane Dispatch. Well done, Humane Dispatch. I'll get in contact with you and arrange to get this torch to you. There were 2 people that gave the correct answer of 59. Nick Carp was the other, but unfortunately you had more than one entry, so that's very naughty. You can't do that. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Take care, stay safe, and as always, happy shooting.